I don't think Czapek Genève needs any more any sort of introductions, although it is a fairly recent endeavor and a fairly recent, success story. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, Xavier, started in 2012 to then become, go live on 2015, when you straight away made the news by winning the Grand Prix de l'Orangerie de Genève award with your Quai de Berg collection, which was, of course, a tribute to the number 3430 by legendary watchmaker Francois Czapek back in the days. Besides the stories that we're going to talk about, again, what is fantastic for us and what we really cherish about having your brand on our platform, the limited edition, is the fact that never like today we've had so many incredible, inspiring stories in independent watchmaking, and yours is definitely one of them.
Thank you.
Great. And the first question that we come with, to inspiring people behind the real stories like yourself is what our collectors ask us every day. When you have to invest 15,000, 20,000, 30,000, but even 5,000 pounds or Swiss francs on a mechanical timepiece, where is the value that you can find in independent watchmaking that you can't find in mainstream watchmaking?
I would say that the first decision maker would be you have to love the watch, regardless whether it's independent or not. So I would say that this is really, it's all about sharing passion. And that's maybe the answer to your question. When you talk to independent watchmakers, you have a connection that is to the people making the watch by themselves. And we're a very small team in Czapek. So a lot of people are contributing. Czapek looks more like an orchestra that is organized around each watch, and each watch requires a set of talents that we pull together from independent workers, from smaller companies that are specialized in one component or another. But in the end, it's like a very small family. So whenever you come across an independent brand, you can talk to the people and know their struggle, know what's behind the watch, know what's the idea behind it. And it's pure, no filter, no, it's just a raw mechanic that has been polished, or it's just the spirit that has been given without any filter. So that's I think the main element behind choosing an independent. Then you would have also maybe part of the history. So, I mean, I was with a watch collector yesterday evening, and I asked him, genuinely, what is Czapek for you? And so we were working about some of the idea, behind it. And of course, there is history with what Czapek did and what he accomplished. There is the quest for beauty, which is clearly one of the reasons why people would choose a Czapek. But there is also the fact that we are nuts, So you can call it courage or you can call it nuts. It's as you want. It's up to everyone. But going freely with no fear of reestablishing the brand, despite its own history and despite the fact that it was forgotten for so long, and in an arena where there is such an incredible brand present, that was really requiring a lot of courage. So that's also what people want to feel and what they want to have with their watch, with a certain spirit. That's why so many entrepreneurs actually buy a Czapek, because they feel like, okay, it's exactly the same story as my story in my small company. To wake up in the morning and say, well, let's go for it. So you don't have it with a filter again. Right? You don't have it polished by a lot of people working behind and choosing the word. No, we prefer to be actually making a mistake and saying, okay, we did a mistake there, and then we correct it. And then people feel, wow, that's cool.
That's very interesting, Xavier. Of course, we've been lucky enough of having your brand for a few months already. And as you know, we had one very, very good successful story when we managed to sell your Place Vendôme tourbillon. And it was clear and evident for me that the clientele that we managed to attract with Czapek so far was mainly entrepreneurs. I can confirm that to you, as it is for most independent watch brands, but definitely for Czapek it was that.
Good, excellent.
Interesting. So I know. I mean, what you've said is all nice and clear, but there is a big difference between having a smart idea, having passion, and having entrepreneurial drive, as you call it.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing is actually to make it in an arena, like you said, where the market is changing completely for what we've seen. I mean, I'm an old fox myself. I've been in the market for 20 years, and so much is changing. So many brands are still appearing every day, and some with some great creative ideas and some great, how can I say, solid watchmaking basics and fundamentals. So the question is, what does it take actually to become and stay an independent watchmaker in circumstances like the ones we are living?
Wow, that's a big question. I will reply just from the perspective of Czapek. Okay.
Yeah.
When we started, we just were three guys. I mean, Harry was looking for a partner. The partner he had was a friend of his father who passed away abruptly. So he was looking for a new partner, and I was looking for a job. So there is nothing better if you ask other entrepreneur than being unemployed for starting a new company, because you have nothing to lose. And that's probably one criteria.
I've been there too as well, so I see what you mean.
So you see, one criteria would be have nothing to lose, okay, and believe in it. Believe in the fact that you can do it, even though you may be theoretically not in the best position, but practically you are maybe in the best position because of this nothing to lose situation. And then what we did was to decide. We thought, okay, we are the luckiest guy in the industry and in the watch loving world. We got that Czapek falling from there in a plate, and you're like, wow, that's for me. And
which, so, if I may, sorry, remind obviously to the very few that won't know it, but obviously François Czapek was historically the business partner of Anthony Patek from Patek Philippe later on. In an incredible entrepreneurial success story dating back to 1850, so 169 years ago, basically, more or less.
Yeah. And what is important is really that he started first a business locally with a guy named Moreau. So he was an entrepreneur himself, okay, and a very skilled watchmaker. Second thing is, after this episode, which is still a defining moment, after that episode, he started Czapek and Company, and became extremely quickly the most famous, or one of the most famous watchmaker in continental Europe between 1845 and 1870s. We just found very recently a picture of Paris during the Commune, so it's like an uprising of the Parisians in the French history, and you can see behind a barricade at the Czapek shop. So we discover more about the story of Czapek. So he lasted a little bit more than 1869. We already know that 1872 would be the new dates, but we don't publish more things until we get the full story there. What we know for sure is watchmaker of the Emperor Napoleon III, and that's not a coincidence. You don't become that if you're not extremely skilled. First watchmaker having a boutique on the Place Vendôme, until maybe we find another one historically, but that's the oldest found so far. And third is writing a book on watchmaking in Polish. One of the two first. We have to find out if it's the first or second one. But what is important is that in his book, he wants to share passion. And that's a coincidence with our approach when we decided not to belong to a billionaire, but to belong to hundreds of people like us who love watches, and to find investors and funding from these other watch-loving guys or girls. That was exactly in the line of what was the spirit of Czapek.
which
and that
then
was also the way we wanted to work. We didn't want it to invent something. This is the egolessness company that we wrote as part of the 5 values of the company. Egolessness, which is a word that does not exist, but everybody understands what it means. We're
so
not
your way
even...
to stay...
Sorry?
Sorry to interrupt. Your way to stay independent was to open up to more passionate
Exactly.
people, which is why these days you are a pool of investors as opposed to just 1, 2, 3 investors.
Exactly. We're 200, a bit more than 200.
Yeah. I watched the live of the board meeting as well. That was really interesting.
That's cool. Yeah.
I love the openness and the fact that you wanted to share moments like that normally are behind the curtains.
And that goes to your question. That's why I was telling about that, because there is a big change and people want that now. They don't want a curtain that has been invented to hide something. If there is something there to hide, it's because behind there is something ugly to see or not so nice to see. And the idea is that we want to take a different route. And we think companies today, young companies today, have the opportunity to shape differently the way to do business. And that openness and sharing and transparency and collaboration, for example, is something that has a real value. And that's something that can bring you to another level of watchmaking. So when I work, and I was working with making the new movement for Czapek, which will be a full in-house movement for next year, I was joking with the very skilled prototypists that work with us, with a very skilled constructor, and I was saying, the only thing I know how to do is to make people collaborate. But you would be surprised how this is important to make something happening with so limited resources. So I would say it's not a matter of resources. You need some resources, but if you compare with the big boys, I mean, there is no way you're going to get more than 1% or 2% of the results they have. So you need to invent a new way to work.
So interesting, Xavier. It's you have anticipated already some interesting things I wanted to talk about with you. But let me remind everyone who's following, and I'm really pleased to see there's a lot of followers coming in and out. They know very well that this interview will be kept on Facebook and on our YouTube channel, and also on Instagram. We will publish every week. We will publish a little 1 minute, 2 minutes snippet. So if you're busy, like you surely are, you don't need to watch the whole thing now. Also because Xavier and I, driven by passion, could be talking for ages as well. So you have anticipated some of the topics like in-house manufacturing, for example, and the concept of value, because it's where we, as opinion leaders in a way, so you produce, our function is to project your passion and what you do to collectors that need reassurance on the fact that they're doing something right. They are not choosing, a Nautilus because they've been told that they can have it in 5 years, and they, it happened to me this week as well. Even an official retailer redirected one of our collectors to the secondary market to buy this particular brand, which for me is incredible. So we need to explain where is the value. And one of the big themes is the value in in-house making. So independent watch brands, typically, either they outsource a lot to keep their freedom in being creative, or they produce in-house to create that solid reputation about in-house making. For you, it's been a journey, so I know things are changing. Where do you see Czapek being in terms of in-house making in the future? And what is the value of in-house making for you as well?
It depends on what you create. Okay, so things are changing to the point that this morning I was with Jean-François Mojon from Chronode, and we were working on the next developments too. So at the same time, we're developing so we started with 2 proprietary movements that we did with Jean-François. So we worked on the design together, and we let him do the construction and preparation of the movement. Then we worked a bit with Vaucher, where we had a solution that was nearly exclusive to ourselves. So that was very nice, but that was not our own movement. And that's where we felt we need to go to our own movement. Now, when you say you have your own in-house movement, you have to actually dig a little bit further, because you would be surprised to see how many people are having their theoretical own movement, and at the same time based on a unitas base that I have modified. So it's not like black and white. There is a lot of different position in the range, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you can invent also new ways to work. So right now we're developing a new in-house movement from scratch on a white sheet of paper because we needed to do that. We did not find anywhere what we were dreaming of as watch lovers. So we thought, okay, let's do it. And let's do a beautiful powerhouse like there is no other. Taking some inspiration from the past, but looking at the future all the time, okay?
Sure.
Then we do develop something very strong with Chronode. And this very strong project is also involving another independent watch brand. Okay, so we will be three. Chronode, another brand, and ourselves. Okay, we are the driver behind the idea. Let's be honest. That was our own idea in 2015, and it was impossible to make. And in the end, we found a way. And one way of finding the way was to actually make an unexpected deal with another watch brand. So you can see that independent watchmaker can actually go to the point of collaborating also on the development.
I love these insights that you're giving us.
So that's for 2021, okay?
Yeah.
And then we work on 2022 to 2024, and that will be probably involving Chronode, but also two other small companies for making a minute repeater that will be really different from any other things that have been done. And the lead is in a small construction company that is not Chronode. So you see how piece of the puzzle can work together.
Absolutely.
When you keep a few rules in mind, transparency, collaboration, integrity, honesty. You know, when you make a mistake, you have to say it. When you think about the future, you need to feel I'm doing the contract to help my partner on the other side of the contract, not to screw him. So you have to think in terms of business in a different way as it could have been in the past.
Great. No, I really suggest also to all the people that are following this live broadcast to send their comments. We have our marketing expert here with us, Pietro, as well, that is checking on all the comments that are coming through. If there is any question that you want to ask Xavier, we still have time to do that. So, but carrying on our debate, on our conversation, Xavier. We've seen a lot of different elements. Again, coming back to the first question and to try to elaborate it a little bit more specifically, in your mind, as a watch collector, not as a maker, what is the main difference, the one thing between a mainstream brand these days and an independent watch brand? What would you point out as the main difference?
Humanity.
The human touch.
The only one, so I choose that one.
So the human touch, the fact that we are talking to you now, and
and the fact that it's deeper than that. We're doing watches. This is the nicest ever piece invented on Earth, and that's my belief. That's my take. Okay, I don't involve anyone in that position.
No. Be our guest because we are on the same line.
It's about life, happiness. How do we see things? Future. Everything is related in our life to time. And the ancient Greek were seeing the same. What was making a god different from a mortal was immortality. We're all seeking that while we're not supposed to become immortal. So why aren't we supposed to become immortal? And what is God playing in that role? You know, there are so many elements. And all that can be in one thing, one watch, you know. So that's the nicest item you can have. That's why you can also look at it from just a mechanical angle. And it's beautiful. It's working by itself. There is no batteries. There is no, just mechanical. A nice human intention. So this is really where I see the dimension of humanity becoming so interesting in a watch.
Brilliant.
Because of the role of the watch to us.
In terms of the next step, once you have drawn out a concept for an independent brand, you've put your human touch to it, you've put your passion, you've put the investments that are needed. A lot of independent brands, they prefer promoting the real stuff, so the real content to, with the client, rather than the above the line marketing in search of awareness. But marketing is still important, because you can make the best watch in the world, but if it's not perceived for what it is, or if it's not perceived at all, you have a problem. So where is the value of marketing these days in independent watchmaking? How can marketing serve independent watchmaking?
I would look at marketing like a very nice light on a diamond. The light does not change the diamond. The diamond stays the same. But if the diamond is well illuminated, it will shine like nothing, like nothing you can compare with. And that's what I think is marketing. Marketing should never change anything. Marketing just should be there, and we should be invisible, by the way. You don't see the light. You just look at the diamond. That's the way I would see things. So that's probably what we have to invent tomorrow, is a way of doing marketing where it's pure. It's only focused on one thing, the product, and the reason why you do the product and how you did the product. Because it's also this that is important. How much you can promote the people who are working on that. Think again about the symphony. Why would you hide the musicians? You would not hide the musicians. Show them. They all participate.
Absolutely.
And if they love playing with all together, they will always ask for playing again together. That's the spirit.
Absolutely. We have a comment from one of the fellow watchmakers, so from David Bracefoot. This is on Facebook, so David is enjoying the interview. And I've been trying to persuade David as well to come live with us, but he hasn't made that step yet. So I hope.
Okay, so Xavier, we do one thing with David. Then next time I'm in London, we do the interview together.
Yeah.
For sure, he will accept for sure.
Absolutely.
We need to do it in a bar, but quiet, but at the same time with a good atmosphere. I see him.
Yeah. It's apparently, and literally saying I could sit and listen to Xavier all day long. So it's a big compliment.
He's a super cool guy.
I'm happy to report it.
We had a lot of. I was amazed by what he was doing, what they were doing together, from an industry that was in ashes, that was the most flamboyant watchmaking industry 200 years ago, and now is only ashes, and he brought it back with the most difficult task, enamel, grand feu, guilloche. I was like, wow, I just specified David Bracefoot is obviously the co-founder of Garrick Watches and running Garrick Watches in the UK, and of course they are challenging themselves with one of the most incredible tasks, which is the rebirth of English watchmaking, which besides Roger Smith is something that has been neglected, of course, for a long time. Yes. We do feel a brotherhood in between independent watchmakers. Very strong brotherhood. And we are not here. This moment we are so small. That's a benefit of other watch lovers, because when they buy a watch like one of ours, rarity is a given, and it's going to be a rarity within a moment of history. And I expect the independent watchmakers to grow quite a lot, but they will still remain negligible in terms of volume compared to the big boys. But in terms of bringing new ideas forward, in terms of shaking this industry, then the power that independent watchmaker have is incredible. It's completely paradoxical.
It is shown. I don't know if you agree, but one of the most incredible projects in watchmaking, modern watchmaking, contemporary watchmaking, is obviously the Opus line by Harry Winston. And if you think about which kind of horological lab that has been to then, for the creation of the then to be new independent brands, it tells you exactly that independent brands will be always the main inspiration from some of the, the group brands as well to carry on inventing in a way. Yeah.
That's because that's also our job. We have to come up with creative ideas at every level. Movement, but not only movement, habillage, case design, on on every aspect. This is our job. That's if we're not doing that, then why doing it? We're not taken with huge problems of distribution or anything like that. So we're so small that we can focus only on that part, and then on meeting other watch lovers, other watch collectors, and by listening to them, you know. I mean, the guy I was with yesterday, he's got a chrono Faubourg de Cracovie with an onyx dial, pure onyx dial. We worked, I think, the number of iterations to make his watch was just incredible. But that onyx dial, when we got it in the hand, it was so nice, it was so striking that he left a mark, you know, in our brain. And when we had to think about Only Watch 2019, we thought, okay, let's take the onyx dial and change that dial to the point of making a unique Only Watch piece. So you see this work, sometimes you invest a lot of time and it's not very profitable in terms of time invested. It doesn't matter. You make a beautiful watch. This watch will lead you to something else. And that's why we like so much bespoke. Because it's the journey is sometimes more important than the destination.
Oh, yes, I like that. It's often more important.
It's often more important.
So, moving on to Xavier a little bit more than just Czapek. This is the part of the interview that always gets a lot of feedbacks as well. In your opinion, Xavier, if you had to mention one brand that you think, independent brand, is not getting the credit it deserves, which brand would that be today?
It's not getting, so which would deserve?
Like an underrated, a brand that for you is really underrated yet, but watch out because, you know, this, you know, you think is something really, really remarkable. If there is one.
I've seen a few projects, but I need to see the guys. I've seen a few projects coming out this year, so I need to see the guy to know what they have in mind and what is the work behind. I mean, the problem is that the guys that the watches I love, I think the guys are so known that it would be stupid to speak about Carrie, but I still think Carrie deserves more knowledge from everyone because of the way he works. I think Recep has done a great job, and we're all together in London.
Kari Voutilainen,
in Salon QP, we're
Kari Voutilainen, obviously
all together, and Kari was always so supportive to us, and it's. But for me, that's inspiration on the way to work, on the authenticity of the work, on the approach. So. I would more speak in that terms. It's difficult. It's difficult to answer that question.
No, it's clear. I think you have answered. You have answered. I'm pretty sure. Also, Recep, what he's doing with his own brand and with Acrivi as well, these are things that are remarkable.
Yeah. And I've seen. You see, there are many things. You know, when you see the Abring in Austria, they work really very, very well. That's very interesting to see the way they approach movement making, or taking some ETA movement and turning them into beautiful movements. Everyone has to find his own way to work, you know, his own rules, and it's actually it's hard to say which one would be the one that deserves most. We are so unknown, all of us.
Well, not to us, not to us. But tell me, on the next topic, Xavier, some of the independent watchmakers and also some of the mainstream have taken a huge stand in terms of the Swiss-made concept. What is your take on Swiss-made, and what is the future of Swiss-made in your opinion? So what's the value, if there is still a value of Swiss-made? Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I found a good answer also to your question. I would say Marco Borracino for Singer. This is that's one, but maybe it's also very famous because of Singer Reimagined. But that would be maybe the also because he's super cool.
Which I'm seeing Marco next week in London for the launch of the new Track One London edition. So I'm looking forward to that.
And of course, David from Garrick. Of course, number one.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
value of Swatch made Swiss made.
Yeah, but it's a good lapsus because the Swatch Group was behind, making the Swiss made. It's a Swiss made raised from 50% to 60%. And that's a very funny story, because this was supposed to help the big groups, but in the end, it helped us as independent watchmakers, because most of us make 100% Swiss-made products. And so suddenly people understood that, that's quite rare, because actually most of the other guys are doing 60% and that's it,
Yeah.
And so we could explain, that you can go very far. And when you want to control the quality, you need to make it happen around you. I'm here in Le Locle, and if I turn my camera, you see just in front of us the Zenith manufacturer, and I would show you with the hand, if I was on the roof, that at 200 meters in every direction, you've got some guys working with us, And we're in the same building as Chronod, we're on the ground floor, they are the first and second floor. So that's the ecosystem of watchmaking.
Of course.
And this ecosystem is one of the necessity of making good watches. That's also why it's so challenging for Garrick, because they create their own ecosystem. And so the 100% Swiss made has a real value. We tried once to get someone from outside, and it was a disaster. We nearly got bankrupt on the first year because of a case maker that was in Europe but not in Switzerland. And that was for us the learning, We cannot do that. And you think you save 3 pennies and you spend 2 pounds in the saving. It's so pointless, so useless, so stupid. While on the contrary, when you work here and when you continue to work with people who are open to changing the way they work, to improve the way they work, then you can actually deliver a better product, because we make small quantities. So it's pointless to go out. So
and from the point of view of, sorry to interrupt, but from the point of view of the collectors, which is always where we try to put ourselves, there is quite a few now independent brands that are also bringing forward proposition coming from abroad. I could mention Konstantin Chaikin just to give an example, like this. Or where, the production is in Switzerland, but actually the design, the ideas, the creative input comes from abroad. From a collector, is that something that can be cherished, or is it a risk? Or so, in respect to that, Swiss made is taking advantage, or is threatened by these kind of influences?
I think Konstantin now it's been around for 15 or 20 years, so his reputation is there and he's speaking for himself. Sarapaneva, in Finland,
absolutely.
That's also another one we could have cited before. Who deserves to be more.
Germany, of course.
And Germany, of course. So I would say at the very beginning, it's very helpful to be Swiss made. I think it's still a valid approach, because it's also reflection in terms of ecosystem, in terms of having people working together to create your watch, which is what we're working on, the établissage, as we say in French. But I think that if the watchmaker is really at the same time good and intelligent in the sense of finding ways to do it, he's going to be able to source beautiful pieces. Some of them it's from Switzerland, some of them from Germany maybe, and some of them from from his own place, or he will make them himself and end up with a beautiful product. But for sure, that will mean more time struggling than if you have the Swiss made label. So the Swiss made is really helping, and I think it's helping even more the young brands than the bigger brands. But I'm not talking about the big boys. I'm talking about the independent.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a certification of minimum quality that you can rely on if you're not sure or if you don't know the brand yet. It's so interesting in terms of the creative input that can come. I have the Joker here in front of me, always, because it's become a big part of our journey. It's the Joker from Konstantin Chaikin has been a companion as a symbol of the fact that creativity in independent watchmaking is a must, of course. But it's easy to say we have to be creative, and you, in your position, you have to be creative. But when you're creative once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, always putting yourself outside of your comfort zone, how do you manage that over and over again? Personally,
not easy. Sometimes you have the white paper syndrome, so you don't have an idea or you don't know where to do, where to go. So you need to relax then. Mm-hmm. It's important to take some time of relaxation,
like an artist,
and
like an artist, yeah.
Yeah, and step back, and then again, you know, your love for watchmaking is going to drive you. That's where the engine is, you know, in your own passion. So you just need, that means you probably pressure yourself too much in getting one thing out, and that's great because it came out. Now breathe a little bit, and the inspiration will come back. There are so many interesting things that have been done, and there are still so many things to be done. So it's about choosing the right projects. One of our struggles is actually more to choose the right project, but it's true that it's not only choosing the project, it's also the execution and the creativity of the execution that makes it difficult. But also, you know, we believe in team and we believe in people. So, yes, okay, part of the creativity, and I'm really behind the brief, but also a lot of space is given to everyone. And so everyone can come up with a good idea and brings this idea. And sometimes it's what people call a supplier. We call them partners, who comes with an idea. Yeah. So this is the beauty of collaboration. This is the beauty of, you know, showing something and leaving people the possibility to create. When I go, I'm gonna miss it today because it's too late, but it's okay. I was supposed to go to Fontaine-Melon, see the guilloche maker. And I know all the workers by their first name. They don't. The other companies, the big companies who go there, they don't even stop saying hello. So one of the guys there, the last time, came with 4 different dials of different designs he had invented just for us. Yeah. Because he thought, okay, these guys, they can be the one appreciating that work, and we appreciate that, and that brings maybe to another idea. So you see, that's also the beauty of this new concept of business models. Don't pretend to be the best in everything. You're not, and everybody knows it. Yeah. Just try by bringing people together to make something incredible.
Nice. I like that. And as we go steadily to the end of this interview, Xavier, thanks a lot for the time you've given us. I just remind everyone we are online live with Xavier de Roquemaurel from Czapek, Geneva, one of the, I can say that, I guess, one of the most successful newcomers in the independent watchmaking world. And we have another couple of questions for Xavier. One of them would be, as I said, I've been 20 years in the watchmaking industry. And one sentence that everybody likes is, yes, but we are different, which I actually don't like, because when everybody's different, then nobody's different. And when you try to use this sentence to differentiate your company, I think there is already a problem somewhere. But that's my opinion. Is there a sentence like that or similar that you don't like in our world and is not doing any favor to our industry?
I mean, one of our challenges is that the 2 words that are the most hated is to bring together, you know, the word tradition and modernity. And it's a real pain because this is sometimes what we do, and we use a lot of that. I mean, we cannot say it this way. So these are the banned words, you know. We cannot use these words. We never use the word marketing. That's forbidden. We have a few words like that.
In your case, the past and the future are obviously interconnected, so it's difficult not to use that expression.
Yeah, and the last one would be DNA. You know, we never use that word. Come on, it's we're not scientists doing the genome. We're doing watches, and of course there is some part that relates to the identity. But I like the personality of Pietro Tomajer. I don't know if I like your DNA. I'm not going to look at your DNA. So let's keep the humanity on it. So that's what we would I would say, that the words are sentence, more words than sentence that we don't like.
Very clear, very clear. And so obviously, very similarly as well, Xavier, we came out with this idea of the limited edition, taking the nichest part of the market we could imagine. But my question was the same that you had when you started with Czapek, was what can I do differently from what others do? Regardless of how big the market was, but what can I really give a contribution to if I start something on my own? And this is how the limited edition was born. But of course, you take huge risks by doing that, because you purposely target a known market with brands that are not known, and with people like yourself that are very known to lovers, collectors, connoisseurs, but not out there, of course, sometimes enough to justify a commercial success. So the element of taking risks is huge in what you've done. What is your advice for a young man that is now thinking to set up something like we've done in our little, experience, you've done in a bigger scale, and other people are doing all over the world at the moment?
I would say a startup is deemed to fail in theory. Okay. Yeah. So statistically, and when you are at the head of a startup, it's like waking up in a beautiful prairie, and at the end you see beautiful hills, green trees, water, lakes. You think, oh, that's Eden, and suddenly you start walking in that direction, and you wake and you feel there is some smell. It's burning, and then you turn around and you see the prairie is in fire behind you, and that's the cash burn. That's the money that comes out of the cash account, and you're nearly dead. And it's getting closer. So you start running, and it's faster than you are. So if you manage to get to these green hills, you probably did a few choices that were very difficult to make, very strong. Letting go a good friend with whom you work because you can't pay for everyone, streamlining everything, cutting on every cost, cutting on your salary first. But that's one thing. The thing that is important if you get there is that you certainly were yourself. You never tried to be someone else, because you don't have clients, you don't have money, you don't have operations, you don't have products, you don't have experience sometimes. So the only chance you have is to be yourself. So that would be my advice. Go for it. Believe in it. There will be some days you will think, there is no way I can continue to believe in it. That's when it's important to believe in it, not the other days. The easy days, you don't have to believe in it. It comes by itself. It's on the tough days that you have to believe in it. And things can come out. There is a good genius, or there is a saint for the entrepreneurs. So believe in it, even to the last second when you think everything is over. That happened to us, I can tell you, a few times. Yeah. And you learn from that, and you grow from that. So be yourself. That's my advice.
Great. And so we have a top-up question, a bonus question, as they call it. Okay. The interview is over, but we have a personal question that you can, or you're not forced to answer, but it's I think it's an interesting one for you, and it should be very easy to answer probably. If there was a personality that is not anymore with us from the past, that you would like to spend a couple of hours with, and have a meal and have an in-depth conversation, who would that be and why? I think I know the answer to this, but
of course,
maybe not.
Okay. We've got so many things to learn from his life. Understanding his decisions, understanding his struggles, understanding his successes. He had a huge success. Understanding his aesthetic choices. That would be great. Asking him what he thinks about what we're doing. Yeah. But when we started with Sebastian, we took a few decisions with Sebastian and Harry. One decision was, okay, when we meet on developing the company and the product, we put 4 chairs around the table. one for each of us, and the fourth one is for François Czapek, and we're going to imagine what he thinks. And that was probably a safeguard to avoid that egos come over everything. So I would be really happy to know him now after doing that exercise every month, every term, every year, what does he think, and trying to project that. We did understood a few things after a couple of years. And I think we're not far from who he was, his personality and his sensitivity about watches. But it's not the same as meeting the person.
That's fantastic. Great stories.
In heaven, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Xavier. It's been I hope you enjoyed it as much as we have, because
I have.
It's been a great pleasure, and I hope it's the first of some also to come, which will be a great pleasure as well. Good luck on all your endeavors, the new challenges, the new missions. We keep doing our best to project the passion that you transmit, and bring it over to our collectors. So if there are any other questions, we will let you know. We will answer to the clients privately. And yes, good luck for everything. And thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Pietro. It was absolutely fantastic. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. All the best.
Have a great week.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.